Let's head first to Karim Baldi, who's in Rabat for us. Karim, good evening. Tell me, how impressed were you with that Egyptian side there?
Yeah, let's say, James, that was the most eventful game of the quarterfinals by and large. I was impressed by this Egyptian team because when we looked at their run of 16 game versus Benin, we get some doubts because they went up to overtime. But this time they scored very early thanks to Omar Marmoush. He scored only once this season with Manchester City in the UK, and now he scored twice at the AFCON. And we can be impressed as well by their offensive line. Obviously, Mohamed Salah always involved in goals. We saw it. We saw him scoring. We saw him each and every time Egypt needed him since the beginning of the competition, and that was the case tonight as well. And a credit as well to Imam Ashur because he's looked as the future genius of the Egyptian side, and it was a bit disappointing since the beginning of the competition, in my opinion, because he couldn't deliver with his talents what we expect from him. And that was the case tonight with 2 assists and this lovely ball for the third goal of Egypt with the outside of the left foot. So, yeah, definitely Ashur now is at the level we expect from him. And if you add it to Salah and Marmoush and all the others and the defenders, well, you have a very solid squad for the Pharaohs.
Yeah, he was indeed. It's crucial for that, for getting especially that opening goal, the opening goal in just the first few minutes of the game. Tando, Karim just mentioning there how Egypt were managed to, they shuffled their team around, they had to do so. And it ended up working out brilliantly for them. Karim just said that was one of the most epic games that we've seen so far in the tournament.
Exactly, and I think coming in against the current champions of the African Cup of Nations, we had high expectations for Ivory Coast. They've been playing significantly well throughout the tournament, and I think even coming into this game, Egypt were not necessarily the favourites, considering the changes that they had to make, the forced changes. Trezeguet, who was out with an ankle injury after the game against Benin, and then now Mohamed Hamdi out completely of the tournament after a ligament injury. So you have the midfield, and you also have a little bit of the attacking changes. And also in the game against Benin, they had 5 defenders, and this time around they moved it to 4. Well, it was 3 and then moved it to 4. And so you could see that they were playing a little bit of a defensive game. But I'm actually really stunned by how the goals necessarily didn't come from Mo Salah from the outset. So I do think that there's a little bit of change in the way that the playmaking is taking place in this Egyptian side. And they are looking quite synergized, a lot more fluid, a lot more composed, a lot more organized as well in field. So defensively, you'd see how they would huddle up in the middle of the field. And make it almost impossible for the Ivorians to create any chances. So it's not necessarily that the youngsters in Diallo or Diomande or even Kessie, a more experienced midfielder, were not playing so well. It's just that the Egyptian side made it so difficult.
Because they had impressed so far in the tournament.
Exactly. So it's that in the previous opponents, it was a little bit easier for them to create chances, whether they would move out to the wing or they could play down the middle. So shout out to the Egyptian side for doing their research and really just saturating that midfield where it was almost impossible. When you had one player with the ball, you'd have 3 defenders coming in to just neutralize them completely. So this game, actually, the scoreline is practically 4-1 for Egypt, if we look at it, because on the scoreline, it was 4 Egyptians who scored tonight. But also a shout out to Gela Due, who really rose to the occasion. I think it was 2 games ago. I had spoken about how significant he is in this side. I think this is his first call-up. So I do think that this is not the end for them. Coach MS Fai has something to work with. These are youngsters of 19, 20-year-old. Yes, the experience in Kessie, but he's only 30 as well. So I do think that there's something to build from. It's not easy to maintain your reign as reigning champions in the African Cup of Nations. So unlucky for them in this exit, but really a huge shout out to the Egyptians. And it's going to be a difficult, very interesting one, a repeat of the 2021 AFCON final. So I do think that Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, former teammates, I don't know, it's just going to be electric.